Hello there, and good afternoon. I'm Karim Fazakri. Welcome to our special debate on Day 3 of IATF 2025. Day 3 of the Intra-African Trade Fair in Algiers, the capital, is still shining the spotlight, this time on women. From startups to tech, finance to policy, today's agenda is dedicated to empowering female entrepreneurs. Panels like Women Shaping the Future of Tech and Overcoming Barriers for Female Entrepreneurs are drawing packed audiences. And we will be joined later in live interviews with exhibitors who are there to tell us about their success stories. From Kenya, Rwanda, Botswana, DRC and beyond, they're all showcasing their innovation. And with inclusive trade at the heart of the African Continental Free Trade Area, today's conversations are about action, not promises. And before we begin and bring in our guests, here's a report by Yassine Rikti.
As the third day of the Intra-African Trade Fair unfolds in Algiers, the event has become a dynamic hub of activity, drawing thousands of visitors, investors and officials. The fair is buzzing with excitement as exhibitors, participants and high officials from across Africa expressed optimism about the opportunities it presents for investment and economic growth in the continent.
As Malawi, we have come up with the different companies that are producing different types of things, and we are here specifically to look for investments. This year, the number of participants in this very important inter-African trade fair is very, it has increased in the sense that, the numbers of people that attended this fair 2 years ago is quite different from this year. We are promoting agriculture, we are promoting tourism, we are also promoting mining and manufacturing.
Exhibitors from diverse sectors including agriculture, tourism, mining and industry are seizing the chance to promote their products and services, eager to forge new partnerships and expand their reach. Many project holders and entrepreneurs are highlighting how the fair serves as a vital platform for connecting African investors with innovative ideas and investment-ready projects.
I'm very happy that Zambia is one of the countries that have made it to this Intra-Africa Trade Fair, where we are having a lot of collaboration, trying to find out how we can work together as Africa. You know, this is the fourth Intra-Africa Trade Fair, and so we are trying to leverage on the successes of the previous Intra-Africa Trade Fairs, where we have been able to make connections with the business entities in all sectors, whether it be agriculture, tourism, mining, financing, and to just get everybody to work together as Africans.
The IATF is proving essential in driving collaboration as both local and international stakeholders come together to explore Africa's untapped potential, from showcasing sustainable farming technologies to attracting investment in Africa's rich mineral resources. The event is laying the groundwork for future economic growth.
This project falls in particular within the framework of smart reform recommended by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. It aims to contribute to the development of the local agricultural sector using 100% local products and raw materials. Our goal is to help strengthen food security and to contribute to the production of high-quality goods that will soon, God willing, be ready for export. At this exhibition, which we are attending, we have also had the opportunity to connect with representatives from the Republic of Kenya. In fact, yesterday evening and again this morning, we welcomed representatives of Kenyan investors and we had productive discussions with them.
With discussions on key issues like industrialization, infrastructure and technology, the IATF is cementing itself as a critical venue for advancing Africa's trade and meeting the AU's 2060 agenda, offering a glimpse into the continent's promising future.
And also, in our latest news, the president of the African Export-Import Bank, African Bank, Benedict Urama, described the African Continental Free Trade Area exhibition as wonderful and exceptional. In statements made to All 24 News Channel, Urama expressed the financial institution's readiness to expand cooperation with Algeria in the future.
I'm really very pleased and really very proud of the government and people of Algeria under the leadership of President Tebboune for making it possible for us to hold a wonderful and fantastic trade fair here. And we look forward to continuing in the next few days.
All right, let's bring in our guest. With me in the studio are two distinguished guests, Mr. Mouloud Khalif, or Al-Khatib Khalif. Hello there. You are the president of the Scientific and Technical Council at Algeria Venture, and we have been listening to the statement here, a very important statement that shows a lot of prospects in the future for the intra-African trade relations. So what is your comment about this?
Well, I think just to put first of all, thanks for having me.
Our
and
pleasure.
to put things into context, IATF is a very special event. First of all, it's new. It's only the 4th edition, and it's only the 3rd African country, Algeria, to basically welcome this event. For me, if I could use a sports metaphor, it's like the World Cup or the African Cup of commerce, trade, and investment. And having this event in Algiers means a lot. It means a lot for Africa. It means a lot for Algeria. And as far as I can see, it's already a success. It's a major success. On the business side, on the finance and investment side, but also on the political side, with a number of heads of states and heads of governments that attended the opening ceremony. As far as the IATF itself, it's not just a fair. I know we use the term fair. It doesn't do justice to the event itself. It is more like a forum or a platform. I would call it an economic platform where Africa, all African stakeholders, whether investors, traders, companies, corporates, large companies, small companies, SMEs, startups, innovators, researchers, students, everyone meets together. They all meet at one place this week in Algiers, first to get to know each other and see how they can forge partnerships and forge relations that would lead definitely to some contracts and some deals, because that's what we're looking for, right? Deals. But beyond the deals, it's also for Africans to meet and find a way to work together. The reason why we have the IATF is because we have the African Continental Free Trade Area, okay, since 2018. So it's quite new. And obviously, all Africans are impatient to see results. But if we could use the example of the EU, the European Union, it took them 50, 60 years to reach a certain level of single market. And it's not perfect. If you want to build this single market for the African continent, a market of 1.4 billion consumers, a market of 3.5 trillion in GDP, it's going to take not just political will, but it's going to take really at the local level, it's going to take companies working together. And the heart of the IATF is the B2B. All the B2B meetings that are taking place, that have been taking place before the IATF, and that are taking place during the IATF, and will take place after. So for me, it is going to be a defining event, a defining moment for African economic integration. There will be a before IATF Algiers and an after IATF Algiers.
Speaking after IATF Algiers, I have with me here and sitting next to you, Mr. Mouloud Khalif, is Mr. Amin Saleh. He's an AI entrepreneur and board member of Confiance AI. Is that right?
Yes.
Confiance, okay. And founder of Jazairiya. So welcome, first of all, with us in this debate. And speaking of IATF, where can we find AI here and technology? Mr. Mouloud was expanding and he spoke and gave a lot of insights about how this can be a platform and not just a trade. And speaking of platform, what can technology provide here as a platform, for example?
Thank you so much for having me.
A pleasure.
AI and IATF, 99% of startups that are launched today are in AI. So we can't escape that for now. So the future companies that will be built to build this strong partnership with African companies has to be in AI. It's a huge facilitator. It's a huge platform to facilitate and accelerate the development. So we can't avoid AI in developing all the new partnership around Africa and African countries.
Mm-hmm. And since you spoke about startups, of course, Algeria Venture, Mr. Mouloud, is backing startup across all sectors. Now, what specific, let's say, doors are being opened for these youth actually to succeed? And here we are going even broader with the entire continent. So how can Algeria Venture help these startups expand and be successful in their businesses?
That's a very good question. Algeria Venture was actually built as an accelerator, not just for startup, but for the whole ecosystem. So it takes an ecosystem to raise startups and scale-ups. And the way Algeria Venture was designed is to look at Algeria, where it was and where it wants to go. And basically, we at Algeria Venture, we help not just startups, but also incubators. Without incubators, there's no acceleration. So incubators have to play a very important role, whether they're private or university public incubators. And all over Algeria now, you can see incubators starting. I know that Amin is going to start a private accelerator soon in Algiers based on AI. But we want more. We need more incubators. We need higher quality incubators. So they provide Algeria Venture and other future accelerators the raw material, if you want, okay? The startups that can be accelerated. And accelerated means, of course, being successful and growing in the Algerian market, but also outside of Algeria. IATF gives us an amazing opportunity. By the way, Algeria Venture is present at IATF. We're present at different levels at the Ahagar pavilion, but we also have startups at the main pavilion with the African Union. And we can even find startups in other sections with tourism and industry and healthcare and so on. So startups are all over IATF. Not just Algerian startups, of course, we also have African startups. But if we're talking about Algeria Venture, the opportunity for startups here at IATF is basically to get to know the African markets and especially the big companies. The big companies. The idea is for diversification, not just in Algeria, in most African countries, there's a need to diversify the economy. The SMEs in general, and the startups in particular, can be very helpful in that sense, that they can be integrated in what we call the regional value chains in many industries, many sectors. So if we manage to do that, that's going to be a win-win for the big companies and for the startups. The IATF can help us do that. The other advantage of the IATF is that the startups are going to be pitching in the next few days. It's going to be a challenge for startups. They're going to be able to pitch in front of investors. Mm-hmm. So you have both the market opportunity and the financing opportunities as well.
That sounds pretty cool and amazing, actually. And now the question goes to you, Mr. Saleh. So how can AI tools practically help SMEs, as Mr. Mouloud was saying? How can this help them cut costs, which is a very important and challenging for startups, and reach new markets?
Thank you for your question, but based on what he was saying about incubators and environments and ecosystems, AI is just the end technology. AI is just the technology that you can use to cut costs or do anything else. But the most important thing is the building the ecosystem, listening to the market, listening to the problems. This is what we are trying to do with Jazairiya, which is the first AI incubator here in Algeria, and we're also partnering with #1 AI university incubator in the world called DMZ. And when I was with DMZ, I asked the same questions. How can AI help Algeria? or African market to build sustainable economy? And the answer was, you have to listen to the problems. You have to listen to the ecosystem. You have to listen to companies and the needs. You can't just take the best program in the world, apply it to Algeria, and expect result. You have to first listen to the problems, and then you define your end solution.
And back to you, Mr. Khalif. How does Algeria Venture integrate digital skills and tech adoption in its startup programs?
I would say that this is not necessarily the core business of Algeria Venture, even though we help in a certain way, but we don't get involved so much into the digital skills. Usually the startups that are selected to come and be part of the programs at Algeria Venture, whether it's the official cohort of acceleration or other programs such as ASEP, Algeria Startup Expedition programs, where we send startups in China, South Korea, and US, and this year also we added Slovenia. I mean, these startups come usually ready with digital skills. They usually actually started they started the company through an innovative project that is most of the time based on technology and digital technologies, digital skills. So we don't really get involved in that at the level of Algeria Venture.
And speaking of Al Jazeera, since you've been speaking about the incubator, can this give, let's say, entrepreneurs visibility?
100%. And this is why we are here. We bring in international experts from abroad, from Canada, from the US, that have been through that for a longer time than us. And they can help African companies, Algerian companies, sell their products and services abroad, and also get finance through VCs or other institutions that can finance Algerian companies to sell their products abroad.
And back to you, Mr. Khalif. Do you think incubators and accelerators should introduce quotas or maybe dedicated spaces for people who are holding a technology project?
Who are, sorry?
I'm talking about quotas. Do you have a specific number at the level of the incubator? Whether you should introduce certain quotas dedicated for these AI and technologies in general?
Quotas. The question of quotas is, it's a complex question. Personally, I don't think quotas do work. I think you have to let, in a certain way, the market do its job. As my friend Amin said, startups are born based on identifying a problem, a pain, and resolving that pain. And the market decides then if the solution really is worth basically the problem. And in that sense, what we can do at Algeria Venture or other accelerators and all the support organizations, we can also only help the founder or the founders basically refine their business model, refine their strategy, so their product or their service can make it maybe faster to the market. But reality is they bring the idea, they find the pain, and they find the solution, and putting a quota is not really going to help. And technologies come and go. So today, effectively, today AI is the buzzword. So the people put AI in everything, everywhere and in everything. And that's for a reason. That's because AI, again, as you said, AI is going to cut costs, it's going to increase productivity, it's going to help us do things that are quasi impossible to do. But reality is, it's not about the technology. If we're talking about startup, it's not about the technology. It's about the pain, and it's about the solution, and it's about the market. If there's a fit, a product market fit, then the startup will survive and will grow. Otherwise, even if you put quotas, the market doesn't care about quotas.
And what about you, Mr. Salah? If we speak about hurdles and obstacles and problems that are still there before people, entrepreneurs, let's say startups, so is it financing, mentorship, or simply better networking platforms, according to you?
You're on your own. Every startup has to go through these steps, and I'll say the number one issue with innovation is bureaucracy. So everywhere in the world, not only here, everywhere in the world, the number one obstacle is bureaucracy. Once you go through the next step is of course commercialization. You need to find the client, you need to, like you said, you need to find the right product for the right fit, otherwise no one is going to buy from you. So it's a melting pot of a lot of things, but the more you unlock these blockages, the more a company will succeed. And that's what we are trying to make like authorities be aware of.
Mm-hmm. And now, if we speak about IATF, a lot of has been promised and put out there, and the President of the Republic has been very pragmatic, given the numbers as they are, without actually any changes. So 6% in trade exchange rate, and which is very low. How can IATF change this fact, actually?
Well, IATF, again, is a tool. It is a tool designed by the Afrexim Bank to materialize or to make sure that the ambition and the vision of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AfCFTA, becomes a reality. It's just a tool. And the tool happens every 2 years. And it's a way, in a certain way, it's also a way to put pressure on governments, on companies, to follow up on that ambition. So the numbers only show a part of the reality. So, I mean, the Afrexim Bank has been talking about a lot of numbers. I don't think the numbers are that important. What's important is only 15% of total trade is intra-Africa. That's important. That's the reality. That's very low. That's less than China, trade with China. Africans trade more with China, 20%, or with the EU, over 30%, than between themselves. That's the reality. So the ambition of the AF, the African Continental Free Trade Area, is to double that number by 2030. That's very ambitious, but I think we can do that. And the way we can do that is by using events such as the IATF. Okay, it's one of the solutions, one of the events, to make sure that people meet, get together, build partnerships, create projects with startups, but not just with startups, and make it happen. And again, the president of our republic, the Algerian Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, explained rightly on the first day that Algeria is doing its part. If you think about infrastructure, the president mentioned three major projects. One is the Trans-Saharan railway, okay, the highway. Then the second is the railway. The third is the fiber optic as well. So Algeria is doing its part in terms of infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and digital infrastructure. Now, of course, you need leaders. We have Algeria, we have Nigeria, we have South Africa, we have Egypt. We have those leaders that can take together everyone and show the way. Algeria is doing its part.
Speaking of digital infrastructure, what opportunities can these startups find in the field of technology and AI, not just with Algeria, but with the entire continent, according to you? What are the top priorities?
Like I was talking, AI is just a technology, and AI will become a commodity. One thing that is very, very important, and we can see the investments in the US or in the EU as well, is data centers. We need a major data center. I know that Algeria signed an agreement with Huawei to build one of the biggest data centers here in the continent. And this is the fuel of innovation. This is the fuel of technology. Without having these infrastructures, technology cannot thrive. So we want to accelerate that. We want the authorities to accelerate the building of these huge data centers that will use the compute to empower all the technology and all the AI in Africa.
Mm-hmm. And that is, by the way, that is just to add to what Amin said, that is one of the major challenges of the African continent. We all hear about the continent, the digital divide. Okay, that's reality in Africa. How can you talk about startups or innovation? And that's what we want. Yesterday we had a panel discussion on the global Africa we want. Of course we want an innovative Africa, a talented Africa, and not just an Africa that is a market for foreign products or for just, for companies to come and take raw materials. But the reality is that in some African countries, I mean, not all African countries have the infrastructure that we have in Algeria. In certain countries, not only they don't have internet, they don't have electricity. So this is where Algeria also can play an amazing part. We have the knowledge, we have the expertise in many, many sectors where we can actually invest and help, co-invest and help our African friends.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of this infrastructure or digital infrastructure problems, Mr. Salah, do you think that many governments are like this? They cannot keep up with the pace of this speed that is evolving in the field of technology?
I can't talk in the name of other governments, but if I take facts, it's practically impossible to keep up because there's like huge investments that are happening abroad. And you need the capacity, you need like central banks to back you up, and you need also like clients to support this. I mean, you can see the huge data center is built in the US. It's even in Europe, like they are building this huge data center. It can be very hard, like for other countries to build that, like because as you were saying, it needs energy, it needs GPUs, it needs a lot of parts, and I think Algeria can play a huge role in that because we have like huge companies in energy, and we can support African
expertise.
Yeah, expertise and the energy and the fuel to support other African countries, and I think we can play a major role to facilitate that and accelerate that at Africa scale.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Mouloud Khalif, so when we speak about resources and raw material, lots of it is being sold abroad for cheap price, while we can actually industrialize this and get something more beneficial for many governments across Africa. And speaking of Algeria, for example, which is a big, raw, kind of a continent country, so what are the opportunities for people who want to invest in these raw materials and resources?
I only see opportunities, as you mentioned, rightly, because probably of a historical context, you know, we can talk about it for hours. The reality is, it was easier for most African countries just to sell raw materials, and not just easier. It was also designed this way by the former powers that colonized Africa. It was in their interest. It was never in the interest of all these countries in these powers to have Africa become an industrial power. They did everything to oppose that. Why? Because they know what would happen to them, okay, in terms of competition. Now Africans are realizing that they can work together. They can use the comparative advantages of each one of them and build regional value chains. Okay, you're good at that? Okay, that's great. I have this. You don't have this, I have it. Let's work together. Instead of just selling raw materials, commodities, at a cheaper price, so the added value goes somewhere else. Why not keep the added value, the wealth, for the continent, for the Africans, by the Africans? This is the deal. And this is what the IATF is about, by the way. It's about building those regional, national and regional value chains so wealth stays in Africa. That's the key.
Mm-hmm. And if we were to speak about the top sectors that should be invested, and if there are any hurdles, we should just take them off the way so as to launch this industrialization in Africa, what would be the top 3 sectors to begin with?
If you think about it, what happened after COVID, the COVID scare, shall I call it, not just Africans, but most countries around the world realized, even in Europe, that, and also the Ukraine war as well, it put a lot of strain on food sources. So basically, in Africa, we realized that there is no sovereignty without food security. No sovereignty possible. There's no sovereignty without economic sovereignty, without energetic sovereignty. So I would say agriculture, definitely. Because if you don't feed your populations, then you're dependent on other countries, other reasons. So second is definitely industrial development. You need to create value-added businesses in your countries or regionally. Third, I would say energy. Because you need energy, as you mentioned, you need energy to power all of this. If you want to have AI, data centers, you need energy. So the top 3, I would say, agriculture, industrial sectors, and energy. And there are opportunities in many obviously pharmaceuticals, and AI can help in all these sectors.
And that was actually my next question to Mr. Salah. How could AI and technology in general help us kickstart with the top sectors Mr. Mouloud Khalif just mentioned?
Before answering that, as you can notice, like I live in Canada and I see like how the world has shifted after COVID and after the wars that are here, and we are paying the price. Like you said, the fear with COVID, like next day you see that you don't have masks and you need to build those masks, and again we are paying the price. So we need to get together, work together, and try to build this sustainable economy. And of course, AI can help with that. I mean, this is the technology of today. AI is becoming a commodity. We cannot like work in the next businesses without AI. So AI, of course, will be here to support everything, but this cannot happen without like working together with other companies in Africa to build this sustainability.
AI is the new electricity, but you still need electricity to power AI. Let's not forget about that. In certain countries, if you need that electricity to power AI, so AI can help you build your competitive advantage. That's very important.
And that's actually the obstacle. Now we need more concrete examples of how we can actually elevate the level of industrialization, I'm saying, of Africa in general. And Algeria has been a pioneer in many sectors, to be honest. But then we still have a lot of shortcomings that need to be tackled. And maybe this platform, as you called it, IATF, can help. Now, how do you see this coming to, let's say, from paper to the ground?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, the Ministry of Industry actually made a call to the diaspora, to all the Algerians abroad, asking for not just diaspora, obviously for local experts as well. But it was broadcasted all over the world for Algerians who had expertise in the automotive sector. As Algeria realized that you need to build an automotive sector, not just for Algeria, but for Africa. And they needed expertise. So let's take the example of the automotive sector. It's very complex. To build a car, it's about 20,000 or 30,000 elements. So you can imagine how many technologies you need to master. It's not just about designing a car. And I'm not talking about, not even talking about the spare parts, because that's another topic. So you need to build so many different integrated value chains to build a car. So you can try to do it by yourself, alone, or you can look at it in a regional or a continental way and see who already has this type of expertise or this type of material or this type of technology and work together to build, instead of building an Algerian car, why not build an African car? And you can use, I used the example of the car, but you can use this for any type of industry.
Definitely. I see you want to say something.
Yes, you can. I think the best example that we can give is the Chinese model, BYD. It's been like 30 years, even more than that. They were investing in European companies, American companies. They bought pretty much all Volkswagen, and they bought also other companies, and they learned from them. And then they implemented their industries. And now they're not only competing with American cars like Tesla, they are the leaders. So it takes time to build, and I think Algeria have the capacity to invest in technology companies. And you were talking about bringing like knowledge and experts like Diaspora and so on. These problems, all the countries have these problems. You can see like right now in the AI sector, OpenAI is offering $1 million for each employee. Why they are doing that? They like their employees? No, they need to keep them because other companies are attracting them. And I think this is what Algeria needs to do, attract the best talent to build the best products and compete with this sustainability.
So it's a fierce competition in all sectors, not just technology, but since AI is the password, as you called it earlier, what are the concrete steps Algeria is doing to, let's say, inside at least the diaspora, the Algerians that are living abroad? And do you think, of course, there are a lot of nationalists out there, and I know many of them who are willing to come here to Algeria if they have all the necessities provided for them to kickstart, this revolution. Now, I might call it a revolution because it is so. Technically, according to you, what are the incentives that are provided to encourage people to come?
Well, both of us are from the diaspora, so, we are examples. I think as Algerians, I don't know if it's the same for other diasporas, but other African diasporas, I guess it's the same everywhere. But we're very nationalistic. So it doesn't matter where we are in the world. It doesn't matter how many years we have not been in our country. If the country calls, we answer. Trust me, all of my friends are exactly the same. And sometimes you find things that happen that you don't even hear about. It means that they're doing things without telling anyone, and very often for free. I think the difference today is that what the government is saying, clearly, come to Algeria to make money. That's a very important step. It means don't come here to help us. Come here to build a business. Come here to, what Amin is doing. Come here to, put your money, invest, make money. Because by making money, it's going to be a win-win. It's going to be a win for you. It's going to be a win for the government. It's going to be a win for the market. It's going to be a win for everyone. So this is maybe the difference, is that the message is clear. And if we talk about startups, specifically the sector of startups, the last 5 years, the government has put together several policies that are in favor of startups, including startups that are, from the diaspora. I know many, many people from Europe, in Canada, in the US, in the Middle East, that came to Algeria to start a business because of the innovative policies that you can't find anywhere else. Sure. And we have amazing incentives for people to come back and start the business in Algeria.
Thank you indeed. And now let's turn to our colleague Islam Said, who's also live in the field coverage here at the CEC. Hello there, Islam Said. Welcome to you and your guests.
Hello, Karim. Yes, we're live in this studio, and with me, we're joined by Miran Dagnew. You were a communications and trade integration expert with the West African Civil Society Institute, and now you're leading a project called EcoTrade, based in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Miran, your career spans everything. From the UN, the AU, the EU to civil society, and you're embedded in networks across not only Africa, but from different continents as well. How has this unique cross-border, cross-sector journey fundamentally shaped your strategy for, let's say, tackling African trade and create new opportunities for the continent?
Again, I would like to thank you for inviting me here, and you have a lovely, beautiful country, Algeria.
The pleasure is ours.
So yes, my diverse experience within the UN, AU, civil society, and then finally, of course, private sector networks in Africa has deeply shaped my understanding of trade integration in Africa. And the way that I now understand, after all these years, that trade integration requires alignment between policy frameworks, regional integration and cooperation, and grassroots business realities on the ground. And the other important point that I think I must underline here is that these activities and these policies have to be locally owned, which means that they have to have the backing and have the political will of the nation, of the leaders, as well as having the social awareness of the people that lay in them. So I think these are very important aspects to underline.
And what is the most valuable lesson, if we talk about this, the valuable lesson that you took from that experience about how to actually getting things done on the continental scale?
On the continental scale, so again, this is a continental protocol, the AFCTA protocol. As such, it would require member states themselves to first implement it within their countries to be able to integrate that within the continental framework. So there are great ambitions, but then the question lies, again, how do we go from this ambition to actual realities of having these trade deals, trade flows, regional integration? So like I said, locally owning and internalizing these policies internally, creating the structural, systematic changes that require these cooperations, and aligning them with the business realities that exist on the ground with businesses. I think at the end of the day, the policies are important, but if they're not aligned with the business ambitions, and especially for our SMEs and mid-sized enterprises, which a majority of African businesses find themselves in that category of SMEs as well as small, medium-sized enterprises. How do they access the markets? What is their market information? What is the logistics that stands in there? So how do we break these trade as well as non-trade barriers, non-tariff barriers that exist on the ground?
Since we're talking about the intra-African trade fair here, the eyes of the African, business community are all on Algeria right now. What is the most important, let's say, outcome you're anticipating to see emerge from the deals and connections being made on the ground here at the fair, the trade fair?
So Algeria hosting the IATF 2025 really is an important signal that there's a deepening of North African, Sahelian as well. From what I've heard, Algeria is the gateway of Africa into Europe, into the Middle East. And I believe this year's theme of the IATF is Gateway to New Opportunities. So I think it is an opportunity, not only for Algeria, but for South Africa, to deepening the trade ties, the cultural ties, the connection ties between the North African, the Sub-Saharan, as well as the international European, as well as Middle East market. So I think that is a very important aspect to underline.
This is the first time, this fair, this kind of fair, the Intra-African Trade Fair, is being held in North Africa, not North Africa, but in Algeria in more particular. Yes. How is Algeria's, according to your own perspective, Algeria's role as a host of this, mega event shaping the opportunities this year, and why does that matter? This is important. Why this does matter for the Pan-African trade?
Again, as I was saying earlier, Algeria represents not just...
trying to break it down a little bit.
Yes, so as I said, Algeria holds a specific place for, in the Pan-African vision of things. From where I come from, Ethiopia, we've always known Algeria, Ethiopia being one of the independent countries and the liberation movements as well. For us Ethiopians, Algeria holds a big place. And as such, we've always been, as Sub-Saharan Africans, North Africa seemed always a very far place. So for Algeria to host, this year's IATF for Sub-Saharan Africans is a big opportunity. I can assure you I was at the Suffix for the past few days. And for many Sub-Saharan, whether we're talking about West, East, or South Africa, we didn't have a lot of information. We hear about these countries, but we don't have a lot of information. So to see these many SMEs, especially women-owned, enterprises, women conversating, making offers, questioning, trying to make deals, this is what I thought would have taken years. And to see it, I'm not saying we're at the finish line, but to even see it arriving at this stage, I think is a very good sign.
So looking ahead, if we were to have this conversation again, let's say in the future, in about 5 years, what does the word success mean to you?
I think that's a very good question. For me, success means we have gone from ambition, and that doesn't mean we're not going to encounter challenges. That means we're going to see these deals that are being offered being concrete and coming down to the ground, grass business realities changing, SMEs finding markets in the African counterparts, connecting, having reinforced regional integration from north to south, east, west, and vice versa, having private sector associations and civil society knowing and understanding their roles in the implementation of this AFCTA protocol, our SMEs being, strengthened and deepened. I mean, what is the growth of Europe? What is the growth of the Western world? It is the reinforcement and deepening of these trade integration within their continental scheme that has achieved that. So I believe, and policies being aligned across continents, across barriers being alleviated. Of course, nothing is always going to be perfect, but that's what success means to me.
Thank you so much for sharing these insights with us, and great to have you with us again.
Thank you very much.
So this is Islam Sid signing off. Over to you, Karim, now.
Thank you indeed, Islam, and thanks to your guest as well for all those insights and inspiring story. Now at the studio, and I get back to you, Mr. Waloud Khalif. So from your own perspective, what's Algeria's strongest message to Africa at this fair?
Well, it's a multiple message, and it started first by being selected to welcome the IATF. If you remember, the IATF process, not only just selective, but the same way a country can apply to receive a World Cup or an African Cup, there's a very complex process that ends up with being selected. So it's a big win for Algeria, just the mere fact that the IATF is in Algiers. If you think about it, Algeria is only the third country to welcome this type of event. So the message of Algeria is we are open, we're open for business, we are reliable, we are a strong, very independent country, but we want to work with everyone, and especially with our African brothers. So having 54 countries in Algiers this week, Algiers is in reality the capital of Africa. And I want also to just to add that, yes, many Africans are here, but also delegations from outside of Africa. This week we have delegations from Japan, from Canada, from US, from Switzerland. Switzerland has a very important delegation led by its Minister of Economy. So Algiers and Algeria is taking back rightfully its place as a leader of Africa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. But now we're going to be joined as well by Zahra Farjani, who's at the SAFEX right now in a field coverage, and she has a guest for us. Hello there, Zahra, and hello to your guest.
Hello, Karim. Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to the proceedings of the IATF 2025 here at the Algiers International Exhibition Hall, SAFEX. So today I have the honor to host Dr. Tokmor Shidide, Senior Expert on Digital Trade at the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Zara, for having me.
Thank you. So let's start. What does your job as a senior digital trade expert at the AFCFTA Secretariat involve? And how important is your presence here in Algiers at the IATF Fair?
Thank you very much for that very important question, and it's a pleasure to be here. My role as a senior digital trade expert at the African Continental Free Trade Area is to build the capacity of the governments, African governments, to trade more with African countries, and also to support our businesses to trade within the continent. And our presence here at the IATF involves doing a lot of sensitization to share more information with the African businesses who are here, to connect with other businesses across the continent, to know more about the opportunities that have been created under the AFCFTA and the tools that have been developed under the FCFTA to support their participation in this one African market. Thank you.
In that context, the AFCFTA team has been signing deals and doing meetings with partners since the beginning of the fair. So what are the top priorities you are advancing in IATF 2025?
In addition to the sensitization of the AFCFTA, the opportunities, we are also working on fostering partnerships with relevant institutions, financial institutions, multilateral financial institutions, other relevant strategic partners who are able to support the implementation of the FCFTA and to support the African businesses as they trade under the FCFTA. So our support or partnerships with financial institutions is on how do we secure funding, how do we provide funding for African businesses, in particular the small and medium enterprises, which form over 90% of the businesses across the continent. How do we support them such that they are able to participate in this African continental market? Our partnership with other strategic partners, technical partners, is on spreading the gospel about the FCFTA, working with the businesses, equipping them with the necessary skills, be it digital skills, be it knowledge skills, and the information about the FCFTA, such that they are aware of this market, they are aware of the opportunities that have been created under the FCFTA.
Indeed. So how does the IATF serve as a real platform to speed up digital trade integration across the continent?
Intra-Africa Trade Fair is a place where African businesses, African governments, the venture capitals and investors, they come to connect. And we see an opportunity here to boost intra-Africa digital trade because we have all the players, all the stakeholders within the digital trade ecosystem in one place.
Indeed.
And they are able to make deals, sign deals.
So let's go back to you, Karim, to end your show about today, and we continue our discussion.
Thank you indeed, Zahra Fajani, and thank you to our guest. Of course, we're looking forward to follow the entire interview, and also for our dear viewers to follow the entire interview. They can visit our platforms, and of course, that interview will be aired on our channel later on. I have to wrap up the show for today, and I thank Mr. Khalif and Mr. Salah. Thank you indeed for agreeing to be with us today. And for you, dear viewers, keep it on here in our All 24 News channel as we continue this coverage of this landmark event in Algeria. Take care and have a good one.